WBNE.
Hello, and welcome to episode 172, all about Rings of Power, Season 1, Episode 7, The Eye, being the 172nd part of That's What I'm Tolkien About. Hello, my name is Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. I've been experiencing the world of J.R.R. Tolkien for the first time, but right now we are all experiencing Rings of Power for the first time together. Today, I am joined by one of the most wonderful cosplayers out there who emulated Morfydd Clark herself and Galadriel. This is Lauren Does Cosplay. Welcome, Lauren.
Hey. Hi, thanks for having me on. Glad to be back.
Yes, yeah. It's been a minute because there was... Did you come on during the Silmarillion? I can't remember.
I did not. I think I was on for...
Probably something during the Hobbit phase.
I think it was maybe... That's what was coming to mind was when you were watching the Hobbit movies?
Maybe. I don't know. Everything is...
I don't know. You've had a long journey.
It's a long... Yeah. It's been a long journey, yeah. Well, I see over the corner of your shoulder, you have your Galadriel armor up behind you in your office next to your map of Middle-earth wall.
Yeah. But I'm a fake fan and we have to remember that.
So for the listeners that don't already know, why don't you tell us a bit about what your cosplay journey was with making this Galadriel armor and then how you got connected to the actress who plays Galadriel?
Yeah, so I started it so the first picture that came out was the hand posters, and those came out in February. It actually came out on the day that I was shooting my Thorin. I was doing the photo shoot, and those pictures came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, we should do one. And then I obviously saw the armor in that, and I was like, okay, I need to see more photos of this because I can already tell this is something that I'm going to be obsessed with. And then the next almost full body shot came out February 14th or 15th. And I was tweeting that day. I was like, I'm doing this. It's happening. And literally, yeah, that day, the next day I was starting to gather materials. So yeah, I started on it as soon as I got stuff in. And I worked on it for, it was 4 months probably. It was the total I was working on it. And, that's with other projects and stuff in between. But I mean, it still took a really long time.
Yeah. What do you mean? You weren't just sitting in a darkened basement?
I mean, kind of, though. I did that a lot as well.
Handcrafting chainmail just for 4 months straight.
Not 4 months straight, but yeah. So that was about how long I was working on it. And then, because I was originally planning to wear it at Dragon Con, which is a big convention in Atlanta, and Dragon Con was on the weekend that Rings of Power premiered this year, so that was my big grand plan.
That would have been perfect timing.
I was like, I'll wear it and make it for that, whatever. And then it was coming up on my local convention, and I was super close to done with it. It was if I was gonna wear it and premiere it at Dragon Con, I had plenty of time, but it was ooh, if I rush, I can get it done for my local convention and do a little bit of a test run. And so I did that, and I got to the convention and it literally fell apart in the parking lot. And I had a complete meltdown, crying all day.
Oh my God, I would have. Yeah.
I was literally so upset that day because it was my leg fastenings were all falling apart and there was pieces cracking off and paint was rubbing off. And I was like, I can't even get out of the parking lot in this costume. So I was devastated. And I literally spent all weekend crying. I got back from the convention and I spent all of Sunday just sobbing. And I was I'm the worst cosplayer. I can't even make anything that's wearable. I'm useless and I need to give up. I was really down in the dumps on this. I didn't even get it out of the car because I couldn't even bear to look at it. And so Monday came around and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it out of the car and I'm going to put it on and I'm going to get just one photo in it just to, say that I did it, and then I'll throw it in the trash.
Never. Oh my gosh.
I know. I was so upset. So I did that. I took a picture and I did a little side by side, and I was proud of it. It looked good in the photo. So I was like, all right, I'll do my run, post it on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. I sort of did my whole posting it everywhere, and the onering.net saw it and they were like reposting it, which was crazy to me because like I've known the onering.net for like 10 years. So I was like, oh my God, the onering.net is like reposting my costume. So I was freaking out. And then I got a message from Justin, who is like one of the main guys at the One Ring, and he messaged me and he was like, hey, if you're free, like if you're available, could you come to San Diego Comic-Con? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you know, he's like, you'd have to pay for it and everything, but like if you know, have the time and everything, like we can procure you a ticket that you could pay us for.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, because I've always wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con. So I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'll totally do it. And I did like a little crowdfunding thing for it, and everyone was so nice. And like I raised all the money I needed to go to San Diego Comic-Con in like 24 hours, which is crazy. And while I was there, I was sort of like with the One Ring team, and I kind of had a sense of like, I don't really know why I'm here. Like it was so nice of them to like, you know, invite me. And but then I was like, do you want me like wearing the costume at your booth, or like, what am I doing here? And they were like, no, just have fun. And I was like, okay. But they were hosting a big party with Amazon on Friday night. So, and I wasn't even planning on wearing the costume to the party because it's very uncomfortable and clunky and like I can't fit or anything. So I was like talking to Justin and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to wear it to the party. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, you should really wear it.
Like maybe
yeah. And I was like,
little... It's kind of like when you know your like girlfriend is about to get engaged, and so you're like, hey, maybe
you should get your nails
like,
done.
Hey girl, you want to go get your nails done? Let's go get our nails done. Just like random spur of the moment, or like you pick them up for the day to drive them to the secret engagement spot, and they're in like sweatpants, and it's like.
We should dress up fun.
I love that maxi dress that you have. You should go put that on.
That'd be so fun to like dress up today. No, so that's what it was. I was like, I really am not sure if I am. And he's like, I don't know how to stress this enough, but like you really should. And I was like, okay, I got the hint. So I wear it to the party, and like I was there, I was just a wreck the whole night. Like I couldn't stop crying. It was very emotional, and like because the costume was there, like not the full armor, but like the chainmail one, and I was just like, I'm having a lot. This is a lot for me. And pretty immediately, someone like pulled me, and it was very clearly like, oh, something's happening. So they're pulling me. They're taking me to a place, and it was like they like brought me into a room, and I got to meet Mordovith, and I blacked out, quite frankly, like don't really remember the specifics there because I was just like crying. I couldn't stop crying, but it was amazing. So that was like that. And then I got invited to go to the premiere in New York for the first 2 episodes, and that was crazy. And I didn't have to wear the costume, which I was actually very excited about. I was like, I got the invite. I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, do I need to wear that? Because I just want to reiterate again, I cannot sit in the costume, but like I will do whatever you need me to do. And they were like, no, we actually don't want anyone in costume. I was like, great. Yeah. Yeah. And so that was like, that kind of felt like the full circle moment. I feel like I can just like put this in a box for retirement at this point. Like, it's had its
that's
whole
like
moment.
So I love it on your mannequin behind you next to Middle Earth. Like put it on display.
Yeah.
Proudly. That's so awesome. And I'm so happy for you that you didn't, in that, you know, weekend of despair where things failed, that you didn't let it completely get you down, that like you did take a moment for yourself.
I took my day to cry. For sure.
But then like, because it's so easy to get down on yourself when you're creating anything, that you're like, this is terrible, I'm never gonna get better,
so
like
ugly,
and like yeah. And so I think that, you know, that's a part of this little journey that I didn't know about, and I think that's so great to see that people who are, you know, meeting the cast, you know, who are wearing these costumes, that like you had to work really hard to like go through those hard moments and obstacles while making it, and that like it wasn't just easy breezy cover girl, you know?
Oh, it was not.
Yeah.
I cried a lot. I'm an emotional girly. But like at that party I got to meet the whole cast, and like Charles Edwards was like this looks amazing. Can I touch it? And I have like a video of me being like, like holding out my arm for like, and he's like touching the bracer. It's like, what is happening? But yeah, and it is so cool because like so many of my costumes, I mean, and I think this is most people. It's like I make something and then I make some TikToks and I take some pictures and then it's like, and then I just start on the next thing, you know, there's not really anything that comes of it. So for this to be the costume that like got all this recognition and like how much Lord of the Rings has meant to me like my whole life, and you know, the equivalent of meeting Kate Blanchett 20 years ago, you know, it's like, holy I just met Mortimer Clark, like what just happened? Oh, so yeah, crazy how it all panned out.
Yeah,
there.
that's crazy. And we got like I was just stunned that that picture, that first like full body picture that came out that, you know, inspired you to be like, oh my God, I have to make this.
Yeah.
That shot is what we saw in last week's episode. And I just keep being like, who knew that that's what was happening in that picture?
So much speculation, and for it to be like, oh,
dang,
Mordor.
Yeah.
It's like actually Mordor.
Yeah. Crazy. Oh my gosh. Before we, you know, go into this episode discussion, how are you feeling about Rings of Power? This is the penultimate episode. We've got the finale coming up. How are you feeling?
I feel good about it overall. I do wish maybe more had happened.
Yeah.
Thus far in the season. I mean, it has so many little amazing moments in it. I would say as a whole, I'm at like a 7.5 out of 10. But there are moments in it that are like 10 out of 10, amazing.
Yeah.
Love certain dynamics and everything. And I think specifically on this episode, although I felt on episode, what was Mordor? Was that 7? Or are we talking about 7 today?
We're talking about 7 today.
Okay.
The big cataclysmic event was at the very end of last week's episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I felt like that episode, it was like, oh, they're finally putting their foot on the gas here, which I was like stoked about. I thought episode 6 was awesome.
Yeah, same.
And then I was like, okay, now, you know,
like, all right, let's go.
We're going now. And then I just felt a little bit like they kind of took the foot back off.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like this episode, it was fine, but
it was
coming after the previous episode, and also the fact that this is before the finale of season 1. I mean, like, good parts, you know, but I really would have. I'm like, do we have to spend the whole episode watching the Southlanders, you know, like take refuge with each other and like the survivors and everything? Like, we don't need a full episode detailing every bit of that journey, you know? Like,
and I think it is important to have those moments. Like, obviously, like a natural disaster just happened, and that is like a crazy thing, and we should have those moments of like recovery and everyone being like, what the just happened, and there's people missing, and like it's this whole thing. But yeah, it to me was just a sense of like, we need that part, but we also need to keep building up to whatever's gonna happen. And like, I don't know, I guess I don't know what the finale, what sort of tone they're gonna strike and like how impactful it's gonna be. So it's like, oh, maybe that's what they feel like they're doing. But yeah, I just felt like it was a little lackluster.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, considering that like episode 6, that one like just came out of nowhere. It felt like where it was like packing all these punches and no one was expecting that. Maybe we'll see that out of the finale episode. I'm hoping we see that same energy out of the finale.
I think they kind of need to, you know, for people to
come back in for the second season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be 2 years from now, probably, too. Yeah.
It's like, you got to really make us be like, what's going to happen?
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that like episode 6 wasn't the finale.
I know. It could have been. I felt like it
really easily could have been the finale. So I'm interested to see what the finale will be, you know?
I'm assuming it's gonna be
also like, where are the rings? This is a show about the Rings of Power, and I feel like we're not really talking about the rings.
Earlier in the season I was speculating that I was like, I was like, I think the end of the season will probably end in like maybe we'll see the forging of the rings,
Yeah.
but I definitely, at this point, I don't think.
No.
I think that would be a pretty. There'd have to be a lot that would happen.
Jump. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to be how it ends. So I think it's probably going to be with some sort of Sauron reveal.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because that's certainly what with all the promotional stuff right now, that is what it's looking like they're gearing up towards for this final season. This final episode. But yeah, I just wish, and I hear the sentiment a lot of people saying like more should be happening, which is absolutely true. But I think a lot of people are like, no, nothing's being answered. Like there's so many questions and nothing's being answered. And it's like, okay, well, let be a whole
answer
plot.
them.
yeah. Not every question needs to be answered in the first season. So like, I don't really feel it in that sense, but it's just like, okay, there's a lot of everyone just sort of not doing a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what needs to happen, but it just has felt a little too slow of a pace.
Yeah, agreed. So this episode is called The Eye. I'm not entirely sure why. It's called
That's
The
what that
Eye?
episode was called?
Yeah. I'm 99% sure, at least according to Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see, episode 6 was Udun. Episode 7 is The Eye.
Where?
Who was the eye? I don't know. We'll have to. That just sounds. It just feels
odd.
very Handmaids to me.
Yeah,
under his eye.
Under his eye. I guess technically.
It has a 87% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now. We are ignoring overall and audience ratings.
Oh, I want to know though. I'm sure this one got panned.
So okay, well if you do want to know,
can I guess?
Sure, yeah. Guess what the overall season audience rating is.
Oh, this is full season, not just this episode?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 39%.
38.
Oh,
dang! Wow, that's a good one.
Right in the pocket.
Yeah, and then the average for I think critics is 84% for the whole season right now.
Yeah, I definitely am aligning a little bit more.
Yeah,
on the
yeah. I'm like,
side.
yeah, 84%. That seems good to me.
I would get like an 80, totally.
Yeah.
For the full season, yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised that this episode had as high a rating as 87 because, again, both of us were not really super impressed with it. So I think that's interesting.
I can see how critics would rate this one high. Like I said, all of the individual moments are good, but it's as a whole episode, it's well, we can't just have all these I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing. It didn't feel like in this episode anyone was really what's everyone going to go do? What's happening?
Yeah, what are our jobs
episode?
here? What's happening?
Yeah, it's okay, if it stopped right now, where do I feel like Galadriel's going? Where is, what are the dwarves doing? Where is Elrond going? It's kind of just I don't know, I guess they're just walking or
yeah. And the episode description says survivors of a cataclysm try to find safety. The Harfoots confront evil. Duran is torn between friendship and duty. And this last part, it says Adar considers a new name. That
all of us. I don't know if you upload the video, but us both just in the exact same.
Yeah. He considers a new name for a land, let's say.
I was
but not for himself. But the way that's written, it makes it sound like he considers a new name for himself.
For himself, yeah.
Which I think the way that they write that description almost is, it's like Sauron-baiting.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
heard
that's
of
what it
queer
sounded
baiting. Get ready for Sauron-baiting.
Sauron-baiting. They're doing a lot of that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. So listeners, if you have not watched this week's episode, pause and come back later because we are going to jump into all of the spoilers for this episode. First, I would like to talk about the dwarf side of the plot for this episode because that, for me, the Duran, the dwarves, that has just been 10 out of 10 the whole way through for me. This whole season. There hasn't been a moment where the dwarves are on screen that I'm not it feels like it's either deepening their characters, deepening their motivations, showing us more about who they are and what they're doing, what their goals are, how they're interacting with the world. So they've done a really great job.
Yeah, exactly what you said. every moment. And, you know, the second that they cut to like, ooh, we're in dwarf country now, it's like, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like, I'm excited to see everything that happens here. I need Disa to be in every frame of this whole show. I love her so much. During his confrontation with his father was
honestly, superb. I thought that was a really superb like acting scene. Like you felt both of their emotions and like both of their thoughts, and being like, I kind of see where King Durin's coming from. I see where Prince Durin's coming from, but like feeling that the weight of their relationship, not only as father and son, but as king and prince, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I understand the king's perspective of like, we don't need to, you know, we don't need to meddle in any of that. We don't need to like ruin our minds. We don't need to do anything for them. Like, that's not our business. But then like you feel such sincereness from Prince Durin when he's like, that's my best friend. And like, we know how we can help. And I'm not just going to like sit and let the entire race of elves like diminish because you don't want to help them, or
and
whatever.
the way that King Durin is like, who are you to play God here? And I'm like, you know what, he's not wrong, because he says like, you know, the elves plan, it was planned out thousands of years ago, ages ago, by, you know, a god. And maybe this is part of his plan for the elves. And how are we supposed to know that? And he says something about like, you want to help them cheat death. And Durin is like, cheat death? No. But I'm like, no, that's kind of what you're doing, because they've already had thousands, you know, of lifetimes. I think it's okay for them to die off.
Well, I'm curious to know how you feel. I know a lot of lore people were upset about the Mithril storyline.
I don't really care.
I don't care either. Oh my gosh.
I don't think I know enough about like how Tolkien said Mithril was originally created. But I also don't think that the way it seems like so many people were mad that the show was like rewriting how Mithril was created with this stupid story about a tree and, you know, something. And I never got the impression that like that's how it. I think the show is only showing us what the elves think they know right now and like what the dwarves think they know, rather than like what the actual truth behind it is. And so on that regard, I'm kind of like, okay, everyone calm down. Like, let's wait and see. I'm sure like that will get addressed at some point.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I also made a joking prediction that the Mithril was going to be a Silmarillion was going to be a Silmaril. And then like that's kind of what they like were low-key, you know, implying that the Silmaril had something to do with Mithril, and that it's like gonna save their, and I was like, oh my god, I was right. This is amazing. This is amazing. So but yeah, it's not, I just don't really care that much about the whole Mithril thing. I'm like, if this is what they're doing for this story, then I don't care, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Because like I've said it many times and I'll keep saying it. Adaptations can take whatever liberties they want. It just has to capture the feeling of the story. And like, I am also in a boat where it's like, I don't really know the origins of Mithril. So all I know is that right now they're telling me a story that makes sense. Like, like whether it's accurate to the lore or not, like it's a comprehensive story for like a viewer that has no clue what the origins of Mithril is. And it's like, that's all that matters to me. Like, it just has to make sense, and it does. So yeah,
totally. That's kind of all I really care about when it comes to adaptations. I'm like, is this a cohesive story in this world that you're building and you're setting up? Great, cool. You know?
And I was thinking like, because, you know, I've seen people sort of rationalizing, well, maybe it's, you know, this is just what the elves think, and like it's maybe not actually true. But in this episode, I feel like it was confirmed that the Mithril is healing.
I don't know.
Like, so it's like, I feel like
I don't know what that's about with that moment where he like throws the Mithril across the table after he's had to another like heart-wrenching scene where Duran and Elrond are saying goodbye to each
say
other.
Goodbye. Yeah, they're like, I guess I'm gonna go
Die now.
Like, see ya.
And like you see like the heartbreak in Duran's face, being like, I tried so badly to fight for you, and none of it worked. He's like, sorry isn't gonna cover it. I love you, man, you know?
No, and I love how emotional Duran is. Like,
yes.
He's had a few moments where he's like really choked up or crying. It's like, oh, he's so sweet.
I know, yeah. And then
sorry.
Well, and then his excitement when the like little ore of mithril is next to the dead leaf, and it like revives the leaf, and that excitement in his face when he calls for Elrond to come back, he's like, get back here. Like, this is gonna work.
I know, I love that. Like you said, it's like they think, you know, he's done everything he can to try to convince everyone, and then like they have this moment, it was like, oh, we have proof now. Like this is
definitive
actually
proof it's going to work.
And they go down and they're just like, we're just gonna figure it out together.
Yeah.
Like, those two just like go down in the mines and like dig a hole. It's like, oh.
I was cracking up at like just this idea of, I was like, not Duran single-handedly mining mithril. Like,
literally. That's such a cool shot though too, when they like, he gets that hole in it and they sort of show how much of it is in that
there
cavern.
And so cool. That part of the scene where they like take a little break and we find out that Elrond did like forfeit their little competition in, I think it was episode 2. He lost on purpose, and because a lot of people had like predicted that and been like, I think he lost on purpose because he knows that he knew how to play this situation, you know.
Yeah. Also, can we just talk about his little lock of hair that's on his forehead that whole episode?
He's getting dirty in this episode because he's in the mines and he...
lock of hair in his face.
He's got some dirt on him. That doesn't happen to elves ever.
I liked it.
He's a little sweaty. What?
Yeah.
Aragorn's quaking in his boots.
Oh, he could
Not
never.
quite. And another like really wholesome moment between Duran and Elrond, where Duran is talking about how like they have their own like special dwarven names that are just shared between their families. It's like, it would be shared amongst, you know, mothers and your parents, your sisters, your brother. And like this moment where they look at each other and he gets choked up. He starts saying like Elrond, and he's so like choked up saying his name.
Yeah, I know. It's so sweet. And then he's like, no, we're not gonna like, because I think to Elrond that felt like a little bit too much like a farewell.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't. If you're telling me that, it's because you think like things are gonna go bad. That's kind of like the vibe that I got.
Yeah.
Also, Disa was very like, she wasn't taking no this episode. She's like, you know what? You're gonna be the king. So like we can actually do whatever we want. Like,
I'm very concerned about Disa.
It was a little, I was feeling a little bit like power.
I said I was getting Lady Macbeth vibes from her.
I don't know what that
necessarily means. Lady Macbeth from the Shakespeare play Macbeth. She is the wife of Macbeth, and he kills the king, and he is basically just like a puppet, and Lady Macbeth is pulling the strings, and she is like the power-hungry, ambition-driven woman behind this like power-seeking man who he is kind of like weak and spineless, and she's like, bitch, shut up and go murder the king in his sleep.
It was definitely feeling just like the inklings of a beginning of like, ooh, she might be more ambitious than we're willing to accept at the moment.
Yeah. So this is one of my predictions for Disa, and it's a prediction that it pains me to make because I love her character so much, but I think we're really going to see her continuing to like drive a wedge between Duran and his father, that she is going to make some mistakes that are like irredeemable and you can't go back on, and make some choices. She is, I think, really coming across as very, power hungry right now. And I'm a little worried that the only reason you see them, kiss, and you see them, have these interactions as husband and wife and these conversations. Yeah. And you feel that they love each other. But I am a little worried that maybe the only reason she was interested in him in the beginning was because he was the king. Is because he would be the king,
No.
It pains me to say that. It pains me to say that. But she was getting this last scene between them after. So they kick Elrond out of. It's not Moria yet. Out of Khazad. They kick him out, and then the king and Prince Durin have another intense conversation, and things are said, and he rips like the necklace or helm or whatever that's, I guess, representative of his position as the prince, and he like rips it off of him and throws it on the floor, and Durin goes over to pick it up, and then King Durin is like, leave it, it's not yours anymore. And then, this conversation that Disa and Durin are having after that moment is, she's like, she goes a little bit too far.
She's pissed. Yeah.
She's pissed, and I appreciate that she is defending her man and she is there for him. But they had a conversation earlier in the episode about like, please don't, like, it hurts me when I hear you talk so negatively about my father. And she says the same thing, that like, it hurts me when you talk about my mother, having a lice beard. Yeah. And he's like, well, that's because she does. And then he goes, I'm joking.
Yeah. Cause they do have two sort of intense conversations. And the first one is a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit, being supportive and being there for him. And then the second one, she's like, you know what?
No, who
needs that crusty old king?
She's like, this is your lineage, your throne to take. Yeah. Like, this is your kingdom. It's what you are owed.
Yeah. And we leave the dwarves with King Durin taking the leaf. He sees that it's healed. He throws it in the hole to seal up. And we delve deep into the mines. And did you feel like this scene was too brief? The reveal?
I thought it was the opposite. I would have rather them, we talked about this in our Discord server, I would have rather them waited to do the Balrog reveal until the moment felt a little more, I don't know, deserved. I would have rather a little hint at the Balrog, or like you see the leaf drop and it like, burns away, and then you see like a breath like of fire come through or something, and then it cuts away. And then you're like, oh, was that what I think it was?
There was some, I actually, when I was watching that scene, it really reminded me of in the Hobbit movies with the thrush knocking on the Lonely Mountain, and you sort of have that cavernous effect trickling down, and then you see Smaug's eye opening, and that's like that sort of moment where it's like, ooh, like you just get like a little peek at Smaug. And there was something about, because I really liked that leaf falling down, you're seeing all the mithril, you're going down, and it's like, either just do a tease, because showing the whole thing, but they showed it for like 2 seconds. It was like so fast that I was like, well,
I was like, we got a Balrog. Okay. We got a Balrog.
And it almost makes you question, like, okay, is that going to be a problem like now?
I know.
Yeah, like it's awake, so
because knowing knowing what we know happens to the dwarves in this place. Yeah. And the dwarves delve too deep and greedily. Too greedily. And they awaken a Balrog, and we see that, like, that's, we see that being set up here, but it's like, okay, so when is that gonna happen?
Yeah, they still have to like mine all the mithril, so they're gonna do that.
Have to do that eventually.
There's just, I mean, I guess it was very, very far down, so it would probably take a long time to get down.
It's just so funny that like King Durin was right to be like, no, this seems a bit dangerous. Let's not do it.
Plug it up.
And then like reveal that there's a Balrog down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a little teaser would have been better than like trying to show the whole thing so briefly.
Yeah,
Now,
I will say
I'm just like,
it still was pretty cool. I still was
and
like,
it was
oh,
sick. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Balrog is always going to be cool as hell.
Yeah. All right, back on the Southlander side of the plot, they're waking up from Pompeii exploding, you know?
Yeah, not in a good spot.
The opening shot of this episode, by the way, is simultaneously the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, and it's also insane because
her waking up and
you see her like open her eyes and you can see her eyelashes and like the individual little flakes of ash covering her eyes. But it gave me it's like that kind of like body horror thing where I'm like, ugh, like if I had that on my face, I would be like it would be in my eyes. I would be like what my you know, I would be like brushing it out of my face and everything. And she just like, you know, casually wakes up and is like, well, that happened.
Whoa, shit. Yeah, it's a pretty intense scene. I like that whole opening, just like immediate aftermath. Things on fire, everything's covered in ash, and
there's a horse on fire. That was too far for me. We see a horse running through and he's on fire, and I was like, and like Galadriel just
probably
stands
the horse
there.
They lifted onto the ship. Probably the same horse.
Forgot about that horse. Poor guy. He's been through a lot.
I know.
Theo is calling out for his mother, and Galadriel finds him, and a very like sweet, tender moment where like
motherly
you see,
touch.
oh my gosh, and she like caresses his chin and is like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Come on, you know, let's stick together." What I don't understand is that like you can see other people behind them moving and chat. Like, why wouldn't you go towards the rest of the other survivors? Like, why would you like break off on your own?
Yeah,
I don't fully understand it, but
in a bit of a haze, I think we can.
Then again, I also have never been through, you know, a volcanic eruption, so
I think we can give them the benefit of like probably a little discombobulated in that moment.
Miriel is alive. She finds Valendil, and Isildur, their third friend, whose name I can never remember, did not make it. I think it's Untamo.
Yeah,
he
because in the last episode he was like, "I'm done fighting. I just want to live a peaceful life here," and then he fucking dies.
Honestly, like one of the most I think underrated moments from the previous episode when he says like they're joking around and he says, "Haha, seen enough battle for one lifetime," and he says like, "Yeah, actually, like I'm deeply traumatized."
He's like, "I did not like that at all."
He's like, "I did not like that. I am sad right now."
Yeah. And I had a feeling, I was like, oh, I don't know if both these friends are going to make it.
I don't know if you know this or not. It was pointed out to me. Isildur names one of his sons Valendil. So I'm 99% sure we're going to see Valendil in this series die heroically, saving probably Isildur. And so Isildur will name one of his sons after his good friend. Yeah.
That other friend can just get
yeah.
You died too early. So
Antimo, kid whose name I don't know. And Miriel gets them to go inside this house that's falling down to save a family, and it collapses, and Isildur. I mean, we all know that he doesn't die.
Right.
People who have seen Lord of the Rings know that he does not die until much later on. But I also was kind of like, yo, what if Rings of Power just killed off Isildur? Like, you know what?
I don't know if they could pull that
You know what? That's a power move, and I respect it.
A Rings of Power move.
Rings of Power move. Yes.
I'll see myself out.
So they make their way out, and, you know, they're all kind of like slowly gathering up and meeting one another. They run into Elendil, and another like really terrible, sad scene where Valendil, his friend, Isildur's friend, he can't even get the words out. He's trying to say, you know, Captain, your son, you know, Isildur, he didn't make it. Yeah. And he can't even get the words out. And you just see Elendil so desperate. It's so sad and heartbreaking.
I know.
And as they are traveling to their encampment that they had set up, Miriel it's revealed that she has gone blind now. She
I
says
thought that was super interesting.
very haunting. Like, I'm wondering, like, I'm like, this is gonna have some kind, they wouldn't just do it. Like, that's really random to just be like, and she's blind now.
Yeah.
So it's going to have some kind of later repercussions, or I think she's going to return to Numenor, and her father is going to learn that she's blind, and maybe that was like a part of this, you know, vision that he saw. And so maybe that's a sign to him that like things haven't changed, and like we're on this timeline now, we're on this pathway towards, you know, our destruction because these things are coming true and happening. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all know what happens to Numenor. Yeah, in the grand scheme, and I think that will be an incredibly haunting scene if they. I'm assuming they'll show it, like, because she's seen the wave in her dreams, but now she's gonna like be blind when that moment actually happens, and like. I don't know. There's something like so unsettling about like she knows what it looks like, but she's like in the dark while it's happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a very unsettling thought.
I know. Yeah. Side note, I think it's really dumb that they put like a blindfold on her. I would maybe kind of
looked cool.
I could maybe understand if they were like, oh yeah, we're helping her eyes to heal because like they were burned or something. But like her eyes looked like the like skin and everything on her face looked fine. Yeah. And so I think it's just silly because it makes me feel like they were thinking, oh, well, the audience is going to be really dumb and they're not going to remember that she's gone blind. So we need to physically show that she cannot see anything.
Could also be, you know, for her own people. Because all you need, you know, if someone from Numenor sees that she has a blindfold on, they're going to be like, oh, you know.
Yikes.
So she doesn't have to just like say it or tell people. It's like kind of an immediate signifier. But also the first thing I thought, the color theory of her outfit, she had like a maroon blindfold on, she had like a teal shirt on, and I was like, or a robe or whatever, and I was like, these colors look great together.
I thought you were about to be like, oh, because maroon in Middle Earth is representative, and I was about to be like, okay,
I just thought
like those colors together.
Yeah, I was like,
at least she knows how to dress herself, even though she's blind, she still knows how to look good doing it.
And that whole moment of Elendil, man, he is like struggling in that whole scene. Like when she's calling, she's like, Captain, Captain, and he's just like has his back turned and he's just like sobbing. Like, damn,
so hard. Yeah, because so now let's back up and see and talk about what Galadriel was doing, because they kind of like got separated, and she was like, we're gonna head towards this encampment, and she and Theo, I think this episode and like the conversations that they have, I think they're going to be a lot more meaningful when we see whatever Theo turns out to be, you know, like I think this is going to be very momentous for Theo, and we'll look back on this in hindsight and be like, oh wow, like this is really foreshadowing a lot of things, or this really laid the foundation for like how he dealt with this, or you know. But right now I don't really know what to make of it. Basically Galadriel is just trying to encourage him to like, you know, basically what she and Halbrand have been going through, that like seeking revenge is never going to satisfy your you know, grief or anything.
Who do you think Theo is going to be? Okay, I know that this is like an overused statement, but like genuinely, what if he's Sauron?
What if he's Sauron?
I don't think he is, but like,
I don't think he is either. What if Sauron is this little 14-year-old boy?
That would be a plot twist. I would like that over it being Halbrand. I really don't like the theory that Halbrand.
I don't think it's Hal. I'm so many people are like, you're gonna be sorry when you find out, and I'm like, there's just no way that he is Sauron, because if he really was Sauron, if he is Sauron, he is really playing the long game.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, he just got like injured.
He's had so many opportunities to like take power, and like he wasn't even gonna come back to the Southlands. It was only because like Galadriel
he did not want to go back
to,
basically.
Yeah. I'm like, there's no way he's Sauron.
I hope we find out what's in his pouch in the last episode.
It's I don't know. It's a Silmaril.
I'm
What
very
if?
curious about his little pouch.
That would be wild. Okay, Theo. I think so like up until episode 6, or maybe even the episode before that one, I was like, oh, he's 100% gonna be like the Witch King, or he's gonna be a Nazgul. He's gonna be evil. Somehow, some way, he's just gonna be evil. But then we see these steps where like he actively chooses to not go side with Adar and the orcs. You know, he actively stays behind and fights against them. And he's very passionate about it. And he is in this episode, he feels like it was all his fault, because he's like, I gave power to the enemy, but like he never could have known that like what was going to happen happened. And he gave up the position, he gave up the location of that, you know, blade piece to save his mom. But he's still so remorseful for it. And so I think, so now I'm just confused. Now I don't know what he's going to be, because he's showing all these steps for like remorse and like growth that I don't know what it's going to lead to.
I think that's just going to make the fall even harder. You know what I mean?
That too.
We see him choosing good until what makes Theo switch sides.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It might be, and another prediction I don't want to make, it might be Bronwyn's death.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. It'd be real sad.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I think that's, I can only see that.
On their side killing her or something?
I don't know. Yeah. The reveal that like both Bronwyn and Arondir made it, and when he finds them, really sweet moment. So and when he goes and he hugs Arondir, that was like, okay, I love this new little family. I'm here for it.
Dawn and I were theorizing that Arondir could be Theo's dad.
Really? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, and he pointed out we've never seen Theo's ears. Like, what if he's got little elf ears under that bowl cut?
We've never seen Theo's ears.
And like that would make sense why Arondir, like, of course he loves Bronwyn, and like,
but like why he like sticks around.
Yeah, he's like stays by this town in the Southlands all the time. It's like, well, if his lover and his son are there, and like they have this cute little family dynamic.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
I feel like it's got some legs on it as a theory.
Yeah, that's not so outlandish. Yeah. Speaking of like, I don't know, love interests and stuff, we finally learn what has Celeborn been up to this whole time.
That was an interesting.
I literally same. Oh my god, when she said, Theo says, "Have you ever lost anyone?" and she says, "My brother Finrod," and then she goes, "And my husband," and I'm like, "What?"
I was like,
when did that happen?
Celeborn name drop.
And she shares that Celeborn went off to fight in the war and never came back, and she has not seen him since. I think that's very key, important wording, you know, that like I never like alive. That was the last time I saw him. And here is my next prediction. Let me pull up the tweet, because the way that I tweeted it is exactly how it's going to play out. What if Celeborn is Adar? I just love more and more unhinged theories about like, what if Theo is Sauron?
I don't know. I mean, they're like, we obviously know he's not dead. Like, he's in the Lord of the Rings. So
he's not dead. He's gonna show back. He's gonna come back. Okay, here we go. This is I'm so sure of how this is going to play out.
Ooh,
I'm like, this is going to happen, and if it like just mark my words.
Put it on the record, baby.
It might even be in it might even be in the finale. I don't know.
Ooh, okay.
Halbrand and Galadriel, especially since we learned, he's a, classic trope. He's injured and and can only, he needs elven
There's
magic.
only one bunk.
And she is going to be tending him, or he's going to have a near-death experience, and they're going to be, reuniting, and they're going to lean in to kiss. No. And then we're going to hear from off-screen, Galadriel?
Oh, no.
She's going to look up.
I don't think so.
Celeborn. You're alive?
Oh my god.
She's gonna run to him and they're gonna hug. They're gonna happily reunite. And Halbrand is just kind of like sitting in the background, very unsure. And then they're still hugging. And then over Celeborn's shoulder, Galadriel makes eye contact with Halbrand, and we see something cross between their eyes that's unsaid, that's unfinished.
I'd be upset if any of that happens.
That
feels so hokey.
That's like, it's... I'm so sure, but anyway.
No. See, I'm not getting any romantic vibes between Galadriel and Halbrand.
You're kidding me. Oh my God.
I don't feel it at all.
So, like, the first moment they made eye contact, I was like, they're going to try to do an enemies to lovers thing here. They are 100% going to do it. Yes.
I think because there was that whole conversation that they had in episode 6 and everyone was like, oh, like they're in love with each other. But I felt like that conversation was very intimate, yes, but not in like a romantic way.
I thought it was going to be, if this was another show, or another another author writing this or something. Let's be honest, if this was me writing this, that argument that they had they would have been yelling at each other and then kissed at some point, like out of like anger and frustration and like high emotions.
Yeah,
they would have kissed at some point in that argument.
I don't feel a romantic.
I cannot believe that. Are you kidding me?
No, I don't even feel like they're trying to. It just feels like they have some sort of connection, but it doesn't feel romantic to me. And maybe that's because Galadriel is like still in love with Celeborn, or she's got her
that's
sights
why I think I'm getting these feelings, is because she believes Celeborn to be dead. So she has theoretically had to move on from him. And so I think she's opening herself up for more intimate connections, and whether or not she's aware of that. And again, like, obviously I know that Halbrand and Galadriel are not going to be endgame, but I think it's kind of like with Theo, where I think they're setting things up between Galadriel and Halbrand that it's going to make the fall of Halbrand very hard to watch and very emotional, because he got close to Galadriel, and then she's gonna maybe have an argument, there's gonna be a moment where they're driven apart finally because of something he does. Or I think that Halbrand is the king of the dead, king of the dead army. That's the
theory I'm rooting for.
Yeah,
it
makes so much sense to me that he would come back, unite his people, and fails.
Yeah,
and
but him just being like, Sauron, I don't know. It feels too obvious. I feel like they're trying to make us think, because he's had all these cryptic lines like, "Ooh, you never know." I don't know, whatever he said on the raft. Like, looks can be deceiving.
Yeah,
he's like a lot of lines like that, and it's like, I feel like they're trying to make us theorize, but I just feel like if it is, it's like too obvious.
I think so. Yeah,
and especially because I've been saying this in the last episode, when he has his confrontation with Adar and he's got him, by the throat, and he says, "Do you know who I am, or do you recognize me?" And Adar says no. And that look on his face is not like, "Oh, you can't tell I'm Sauron." It's like, it feels to me like Adar did something to him when he was like a kid, and he's been like bottling up this resentment for his whole life. And now he's at this moment where he can exact revenge. And when he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And he's like, "No." And he's like crushed by the fact that he can't even have like this moment of revenge, because he doesn't even know who he is. Yeah. So it's like, it's just like, there's just too many things like that where I'm like, how does that make any sense that he's Sauron? It just like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. So we leave the Southlanders in this episode. Miriel and the rest of the Númenóreans are going to go back on the ships and go back, and Miriel declares that she is going to and Galadriel feels so guilty about this, because she's like, "Come on, guys, get on these boats. We're going on a fun adventure in Middle Earth," and then like ends in disaster. But so she believes that Miriel is going to be like, "Yeah, you f***ed up. Thanks a lot." And then, peace out and never see them again. But she promises and she vows that she's going to send back another army, because she's like, we are not going to let this enemy win. Yeah. Elendil, again, believes that Isildur is dead, and you see him turn around, heartbroken. He's sobbing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so awful.
It's so sad.
Also, they have to release, at some point in the episode, they release Isildur's horse, Beric, because he's wild and he's obviously heartbroken because Isildur is not there. And he runs off. 5,000% Beric is going to go save and find Isildur.
Oh, and have his like Aragorn falling off the got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't care how many times that happens. Like, what a great moment. Like,
let it happen in every episode.
Yes. Yeah. Let the horse save the person. Go for it. I don't care.
Yeah, and there's that scene where Elendil, it's like right before Galadriel gets to the encampment, and he's like, I wish I had left her in the ocean. You're like, damn.
He's like, she ruined my life. Halbrand survived, but he has been injured and it's getting infected. So Galadriel says, I'll take him to my people and we'll get some elven magic to heal this thing up. This is one of my critiques of the episode, is that he is looking on death's door when he is lying on that cot. And then the very next scene, he gets up and walks with like barely even a limp, and he walks through the crowd of people and hoists himself up on his own horse. And I'm like, aren't you dying?
And she's going all the way to
they're going
which is like
a while,
really far.
Yeah.
It's like not a close, a
lot of us Haladriel shippers were like, what a missed opportunity to have them on the same horse.
Oh yeah.
What a missed opportunity.
Galadriel and Beck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She Frodo's him.
Yes.
Can we please not skip over the fact that we got 2 Peter Jackson references when Galadriel is with Theo and the orcs are looking for them and they're under that like tree and it looks like where the hobbits hide from the ring race. And they give us the, what is it? What do you smell?
Yeah.
Come on. That was the best moment in the episode for me.
I did notice them, hiding under the tree, very reminiscent of the hobbits hiding from the Nazgul. I didn't notice what do you smell?
What is it? Flesh. What do you smell? He didn't say
and then he says like ash. Nothing but ash.
If he had said man flesh.
Man flesh, yeah.
Game over.
And then Galadriel bumps up and is like, I am neither man nor man. Get it? Like she's not a man, but she's also not a man. Okay, anyway. Okay, and then the last little plot line in this episode, the Harfoots and the stranger continuing that. They finally make it to the grove, and a little part of the volcanic eruption has hit the grove and destroyed everything. Oh, speaking of, I was really shocked that I thought for sure in this episode we were going to see the other characters' reactions to this giant volcano blowing up. I thought that was going to be something that like everyone's going to be able to see. And so I thought we were going to see, Gil-galad seeing it and the Harfoot see it. If the Harfoots were close enough to have, the volcanic eruption land where they are.
Because I was thinking they're in the Shire, but I think they are farther southeast than that. So I guess
I don't know. Yeah, but that's the other thing. I don't know where I don't know where everyone is.
I kind of had that question too, because I was like, that's like a really, really far away for them to get like direct like volcanic eruption. But I was thinking maybe it was those like the priestess. Type creatures.
Maybe it was part of the comet.
Yeah, or maybe they. Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw her like blow ash and it like. Yeah. So like maybe they did it and wasn't actually volcanic eruption, because like I just don't know. It's like really far. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
volcanic eruption got that far, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then they ask the stranger to heal the grove, and Nori is very hesitant because she just saw his I don't want to say like destructive powers, but like she saw that his powers can be dangerous. And this one is not the stranger's fault. So he's trying to heal the tree, and then Nori's little, I thought it was a little brother this entire time. Apparently it's her sister.
Yeah.
I thought Dilly was a boy. Anyway, and so she goes running up and it's like, wow, it's working, right as a tree branch falls. And I'm like, okay, that one's not, and Nori saves her. And the stranger looks horrified because he's like, oh my God, I did it again. I hurt you. And Nori's scared too. But I'm like, no, that's on y'all. You guys should have given him a little bit of a perimeter,
They're putting a little bit too much pressure on him, and to like not be like, okay, fix the grove,
yeah, fix
but also like
dying.
no accidents.
Yeah.
No accidents allowed, or you have to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, damn.
So it's definitely tense, and they see this moment, and Sadok shows him directions for finding, I think he says like the big folk live over there. So he the stranger goes off on his own, and he has like one of the little star charts, and Sadok says they might be able to help you find this. So the stranger leaves, and then they wake up the next morning and the entire grove has been rejuvenated. So whatever the stranger did, it worked. And then later that night, the, I don't know, creepy cult people, whoever we want to call them.
We don't really know who they are.
Slim Shady. They show up. And they're obviously tracking the stranger, and Nori at the last minute jumps out and tries to send them off on the wrong path, and says like, he went that way. And then they all band together to defend her, and they're like, no, you're not gonna hurt her. Real creepy moment. Her dad holds up a torch to be like, get, and then the main creepy person just like grabs the torch with his hands, and like the fire burns and sizzles out on his hand. It's so
I'd be
creepy.
like, you know what? You can do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah.
We're just gonna be in our little shacks. Yeah. You do whatever you gotta do.
And then they set everything on fire.
They sure do.
Which is very sad and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then we get honestly like a really great speech from her dad the next morning, and he's trying to like cheer everyone up, and he's like, yeah, this is hard. This is a rough moment for us, but we're Harfoots. We're going to stick together, and we'll persevere, and we'll come out on the other side of it. And then Nori decides that she's going to go after the stranger and warn him that these people are going after him. Poppy, of course, our, pseudo Sam figure in this series is like, she's not going alone because I'm going with them. And then
I'm going with them.
And then her mom, I think it's Marigold is her name, says like, if you think I would just let you walk off without me. Yeah, so she joins them, and then Sadok goes with them too, because he knows how to read the trails and stuff, and so that they all go off to find the stranger. Yeah,
I was thinking in that scene where Largo is like, all right, well, let's get our together, and Sadok is like, let us be sad and have a moment. All I could think of was, give them a moment for pity's sake. That was that.
You're not wrong. You're not
like,
wrong
let
there.
Him cry a little, damn. And they had like just harvested all the food.
Oh my God.
And it got all burned
It all
down.
got burnt up. All of their, their carts are their livelihoods too, and they got burned up. So, I mean, like, it's the equivalent of like your house being burned down. So, rough
But if
time.
it was like your whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you lived in the middle of nowhere and like all of your neighbors' houses burned down.
So, I don't know. How did you feel about, I enjoy the Harfoots generally. I have no clue. Like, we've seen how what the dwarves are doing is interconnected with what Elrond and the elves are doing. We've seen, Numenor meet up with the Southlanders. So we're seeing a lot of the plot lines colliding, but the Harfoots and the stranger is still off by itself. And I'm just like, can we have like a little ounce of connection to these other stories? Like, why is this important?
Well, I believe we all think the stranger is Gandalf, I think is the general assumption.
I don't know. I have no idea. Is that what you think? You think the stranger is Gandalf?
I feel like they have pointed to that being who he is multiple times. I mean, he's wearing a big gray robe.
I know, right?
It's got to be who he is. Oh, what if he's Sauron? That'd be crazy. I don't think he is, but
I don't think he's Sauron either, because again, like you see him feeling remorse.
Yeah,
in the
he's like just trying to
couple episodes where like he learns like what she teaches him the word peril, and he remembers that he killed the fireflies, and he's like horrified that he did that. So like I don't think Sauron would care that he killed. Yeah.
So I think a lot of it has felt like, if Gandalf was in the Shire, okay, let's picture it in Lord of the Rings terms. Like, if Gandalf was in the Shire with all the hobbits, but like nothing was really going wrong, and we're just like seeing little insight into them just like hanging out in the Shire, and like, everyday woes. So that's kind of what it's felt like. But now we're going to start going into the part where it's like starts connecting, because Gandalf is going to go somewhere, and I'm calling him Gandalf, the stranger is gonna go somewhere, obviously, and like be connected with other people in the world, and like with the Harfoots following him. I think that's how they're gonna end up getting roped into it. Or those priest people, the creepy people, I don't know, maybe they're gonna bring people to the Harfoot lands and like wreak more havoc and destruction. I don't know. It's kind of, it is definitely the most question marked plot point, or like, plot in the stories. It's like, I don't really know. I don't know who the stranger is, and I don't know when the Harfoots settle down. Because I thought when they got the Dot Orchard, I was like, oh, set up shop. This place is great. And then all of their stuff got burned down. So
let's regroup. Yeah.
I guess not.
We have like one last scene at the very end of the episode. The orcs and Adar are in the destroyed Southlands, and Adar says, take off your sun cloak. You won't need those anymore. And they say something about like, Adar, king of the Southlands, and he's like, this isn't the Southlands anymore. And they're like, so what are you gonna call it now? And then he sits there and he kind of thinks about it, and then we look out over the destroyed land. It's late, it's captioned, the Southlands, and then that fades away and it ripples and burns up, and now it says Mordor. Like, I think that was very unnecessary.
Yeah, I think we got it.
I think we got it. Yeah, we got it. Like, we don't, it very much felt like they, hand holding the audience to be like, get it? It's Mordor. Isn't this cool? And it's, I think a lot of us realized that part of the land was going to be Mordor at the end of the previous episode.
Oh, I mean, I think it's obvious from the first episode when they're showing where the Southlands are. It's like, oh, that's where Mordor is. So like, obviously something is going to happen, and then it's very clear in the last episode because we see Mount Doom. It felt like the kind of thing where it's like sort of needing to appeal to audiences that maybe know nothing
but
about Lord of the Rings.
Even still, I feel like you could have just said, Adar saying like, it's not the Southlands anymore. And then just do the shot of it, him looking out over the destroyed landscape. Yeah. And with them chanting in the background,
or even just like not it saying the Southlands and like burning away and saying Mordor, just like, doing the pan back and then just being like Mordor, because they've been using that as like an establishing title card for landscape. So it's like, just say Mordor. We got it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we got it.
We know. We gathered the context clues on this one.
Yep. Who is Adar? Who do you think Adar is?
Man, I have no idea. I was on Don's Twitch stream earlier, and sometimes it just takes me like a few times of watching things to like understand what's going on, and that's like a little bit embarrassing.
Oh no, I'm the same way. Like I have to watch stuff the first time. I watch each episode the first time, just like initial, like, I'm a normal person who doesn't have to talk about this extensively, and so I just like watch it the first go around, and whatever thoughts and reactions I have, that's what I have. And then to do, an episode about it, I'll watch it and a second time. I think I watched the first episode 3 times maybe. But like there's definitely a lot of things that even someone like, I mean, and granted, I am not at all like a smart Lord of the Rings person really anymore, because I remember so little of what I've read now. So
Right.
like, even I'm still, you know, a slow on the uptake for certain things and being like, wait, who is that? What's the significance of this? Like, I don't get it. So
yeah, because obviously I had seen, because I was on his Twitch stream, we were rewatching episode 6. So I had only seen it once when we were talking, and I was like, oh, I don't really understand, because he has that whole scene where he's talking to Galadriel and he's like, I guess he like said all of what his shit is, and I don't know, I didn't like really intake all of that information. So I was talking to Don, I was like, I don't really understand who Adar is, and so he was explaining it to me. And then later to my husband, I was like, did you understand? Like, I was like trying to tell him who Adar is, and he was like, yeah, he had like a whole scene. And I was like, I didn't get it.
It's like, you know what? Don't come for me.
Yeah, and you know, like the way they speak is like a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like I was just staring at Morphin Clark's face that whole scene.
I literally
you know?
was not her face, but I really was like, I was looking at her armor like a lot because she was in it, and so I really was having like a lot of costuming thoughts, and I wasn't paying attention. So I don't know. It just took me a second to like. It's like, I don't know. I need to watch it a few times to get it. But I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of these people, so many people are just so convinced and being like, Halbrand is Sauron, and, you know, Adar is, and I'm just like, maybe some of these people are just people. I don't know.
They might just be
characters. You know, like, I don't know.
And I do think he's such an interesting character, like how he has so much compassion for the orcs, and like in earlier episodes, you know, seeing him be like really tender towards them is like something we've never seen before. Is like someone like caressing an orc and, you know, speaking a word over them before they die is like, wow, that is like a really interesting character to have, someone that's like truly compassionate toward the orcs. So I don't know, maybe he's just like that guy. Or maybe he's, I don't know, I guess it doesn't really make sense for him to be like a witch king or anything. I don't know, maybe he's just like who presides over Mordor for a minute. But also there's like some sort of contention between him and Sauron. So
yeah, I didn't get that, because he says in the previous episode, in that speech, he says, I killed Sauron. And I'm like,
yeah. I know. I was like, I don't know if that's like metaphorical.
Yeah,
or if,
exactly.
Like, he actually thinks that
he killed Sauron.
Yeah. So I don't really. That's why I'm like, hey, I'm like, I don't really know what's going on with him, but I'm curious about him, and I'm eager to see what they do with his character. But I don't really have any speculation on him.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite moment from this episode?
I really liked the what do you smell part.
That can be, it doesn't have to be any deeper than that.
No, I just thought that was funny. Okay, you give me yours.
Okay. I don't know. Usually like something happens and I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. That'll be my favorite moment, you know, this week. But nothing really stuck out to me too much this episode. Yeah. I think I'll go with the moments between Duran and Elrond.
That's what I was thinking.
Right before they're like opening the mine and they're having like the conversation about, you know, Elrond, you know, reveals that he, you know, gave up the competition. It was so funny. Like Duran is like, are you serious? Like you didn't have any trouble at all? And Elrond goes, I was winded.
Yeah. He was putting on a show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. Again, just the dwarves are killing it. And
specifically like that relationship between Duran and Elrond is just so captivating, so sweet. It really captures that like just how Tolkien writes male friendships is just so special.
This one's and so wholesome.
And I feel like they really, like those actors totally nailed that. And the dialogue they have and the way they look at each other. And it's just like, I just love any minute that they're on screen together.
I love them all.
Yeah.
And it seems also in the fandom that is enjoying the show, people who are shipping Elrond and Durin are also shipping them with Disa and having them be a throuple.
Disa needs to be there.
I appreciate that so much, because a lot of times in fandom in general, when people are shipping things, they cut out the female partner and, you know, in order to make it gay or whatever, which like, you know, you do you, but a lot of times that it's like, okay, but you just threw out this really great, you know, female character.
Yeah. Like Duran is in love with his wife.
Yeah, he's
like,
so, and like definitely like that doesn't, you know, not count for anything. And so I love that it's almost like this little unspoken rule of like, no, if you're going to ship Elrond and Duran, you also have to ship Duran, Disa, and Elrond. Like you have to ship them all together. Like it's a package deal.
It's a package deal. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I love all their dynamics. It's just so wonderful and wholesome. Are there any other predictions or theories that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I'm hoping for the best for the last episode. I'm a little nervous, but I've, you know, got at least a little bit of trust that they're gonna go out with a bang and it's gonna be impactful and exciting, and because it's gonna be a really long wait for the next season, and this felt like it went by so fast.
So. I think I saw that they have already started filming for the next season. Also totally unrelated, but just in terms of like, you know, them announcing things, I just remember that I saw on Twitter tonight that Rings of Power is officially like certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which like I don't think is, you know, that's not nothing. That's a pretty
if it could overcome, you know, the hate barrage, the torrent of negative reviews they've received, I think that's definitely something.
So I think it's I don't know. There's a lot of potential. I'll say that there's a lot of potential. They agree. Just have to go in the right direction with it. Yeah. So.
And it's like people who are still saying that this is like the worst show ever made. It's like, okay, you're obviously being
way
facetious.
Worse shows. Yeah.
It's like, but the people who are like, I'm not really enjoying it, or it's boring, you know, like sort of comments in that direction. It's like, I get it. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally understand. And there's, you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But it's like, it's obviously not like a terrible show. Yeah, it's like they're putting a lot of effort into it. If you think it's slow, okay, like I don't, you know, it has some slow moments. It's Tolkien. He has a lot of moments of people just walking and talking.
It took them 150 pages to leave the Shire.
Yeah, so I get that. And if that's not for you, that's all good. But people are
I've just started telling
like,
people like, okay, then don't watch it.
Literally, why are you still watching it?
And I'm like,
if you made that decision at episode 2, I don't know why you kept watching.
I'm like, okay, then don't watch it. I mean, like, I mean, like, I will usually, you know, say my piece and be like, oh, well, I really enjoyed this week's episode. So I think, you know, if you really love Tolkien and you really love, maybe not if you really love Tolkien, since that's like a trigger word for people, but like if you really love Middle Earth and you really love this world, you know, keep going and give it another try, but like, also don't watch it then, you know? Don't watch it. It's not going to hurt anyone.
I know. It's like, we do not care if you are or not watching it. You know? It's going to keep being made. So
yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm contractually obligated now to watch it for.
Right. And I just feel like zooming out a little bit, like whether this is the best show that's ever been made or not, it's like, I don't really care. It's so cool to be in a time where like a new show about Middle Earth is being made.
Totally.
Like at the end of the day, I don't need it to be like, I want it to be amazing and I want to enjoy every episode, but if some of them are like a 6 out of 10 for me, it's like, okay, that's fine. I don't need it to be. And like, when did the standard for television or media in general become like perfect? Like it needs to be perfect, or it's the worst thing that's ever been made. It's like, I don't know, it's not perfect. The Peter Jackson movies aren't perfect. I've never seen a single thing that's perfect.
It's so much harder too for TV being made nowadays, because a lot of times they're trying to do things in 8 to 10 episodes that traditional television 5-10 years ago had 20 to 25 episodes in one season. And you can do a lot, obviously you can do a lot more with that than with, you know, 8 episodes. And so you have to be really cognizant of like the moments that you're showing, and it's like we can't, you know, so
and it's like, you know, when there's 25 episodes of something and you have some filler episodes and you got some side quests and you got some like goofy stuff going on, it's like, oh, you know, I don't feel like people used to care. And now it's like, okay, well, we've got to get this all done in 10 episodes, and if they're all not perfect and like showing absolutely everything, then it's just like, I don't think they're bad. They're just, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like the standards for media have gotten very odd.
Yeah, it's like, it's just TV.
Just
Let's
enjoy
watch
it. Yeah. And yeah, the hate for just like if someone doesn't enjoy it, it's like, okay, don't watch it. But it's like, okay, I'm enjoying it. And the sort of comments I get, it's like, why do you care if I like a TV show? Like, what does it do to your life?
I finally I got really fed up. I, over the weekend, posted like a question on my Instagram stories saying like, oh, what snack are you eating during Rings of Power? And someone said, I'm drinking alcohol because of the terrible dialogue, like to get through the terrible dialogue. And I'm like, and I posted that reply. The person probably thought they were being funny and quirky and whatever. And I posted that and said, then don't watch it. You're not edgy. You're not cool. You're not more intelligent than other people because you're not watching the show or because you're not enjoying it. Like that doesn't, and also like that doesn't make, just because we're all like, we're not cooler or edgier or more intelligent because we are watching it, you know?
Yeah, no, like, I'm just watching it because I want to watch it.
Yeah.
And I made a TikTok that I never posted, but I was just talking about like I consume a lot of media. I watch a lot of shows and movies and books, and there's a lot of things that I start and I give it a few episodes and like, there's a lot of things that I just don't like and I never finish. And it's like, you don't see me making it my whole personality that I didn't like some show that everyone likes. Like I watched WandaVision. I'm not a Marvel person, but I watched WandaVision because all my friends were like, it's the best show ever. It's like the best thing that the MCU has ever made. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I'll watch it for you. And I watched it and I thought it was the worst fucking show I have ever seen. Have you ever seen me talk about how much I hate WandaVision?
Yeah.
No,
never. Yeah.
Because and it's the only show that I'm like, I wish I had just like stopped watching that, but I finished it just for the sake of my friends.
Well, also, I mean, like, also, it's hard to expect. You just said like, oh, I'm not really a Marvel person. It's hard to expect you to enjoy that show because I haven't watched WandaVision, but I know that it had a lot to do with like different realities and timelines and stuff like that. And like, that's something that is going to be really hard to like appreciate all the like Easter eggs and nuances if you're not if you're not like an established Marvel fan going into that. So like I wouldn't just hand this show to some random person off the street who has never heard of Lord of the Rings and be like, don't you love it so much?
Right. Yeah. It's like, but I feel like people feel like they have to see something all the way through. And it's like, if you don't like it, like,
oh my God,
just stop watching it. Nothing's going to happen.
I DNF means do not finish. I DNF books all the time.
All the time. Yeah. I'll start it and be like, no, not for me.
If by like page 50, I'm not intrigued and I'm not like actively wanting to keep the page turning, I usually don't finish it. The exception to that being Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
I do. I mean, for movies too, like if I'm 30 minutes into a movie and I'm not feeling it, I just turn it off and I never think about it again.
These days, I only watch a movie if I'm like really interested in seeing it. Because otherwise, like, I'm never just like on a whim, like, oh, let me see what this movie's like. Like, I have to actively really want to see a movie and then sit down and be like, okay, it's going to be movie night, you know, and I'm going to watch this movie that I've wanted to see for a long time. And that's it. And consequently, I've seen like maybe 5 movies this year total.
Oh my God.
So
I've seen like 5 movies. Yes, I watch a lot of movies.
Oh my God. Well, Lauren, it was wonderful having you back on. Thanks for coming. Everyone, shout out to everyone who's going to call us shills now.
Do it. Send the paycheck.
Yeah. Where's that paycheck going? Where can people find you on the internet? And if there's anything, you know, that you're working on or anything special you want to plug or share that too.
Not working on anything in particular, but I'm Lauren Does Cosplay on TikTok, Instagram. Elle Does Cosplay on Twitter because the handle is too long. I've got a YouTube channel where I make like cosplay tutorials. That's Lauren Does Cosplay on there as well. So yeah, doing cosplay stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, listeners, and remember, you know, if you are you know, a aspiring cosplayer, you're just starting out, remember Lauren cried in the parking lot at her con and then persevered and ended up meeting Morphic Clark with that same costume. So, you know, it's all about a journey. It's all a learning process. So do you have any parting words for the audience?
Stop watching things and consuming media that don't fulfill your life. That's all.
And that's what I'm talking about.